Hello everyone, today I'll be reviewing The Third Man. So The Third Man came out in 1949 and was directed by Carol Reed, and in this film we have Joseph Cotten. He plays a man called Holly Martins, and he's an American, and he goes to visit Vienna in order to see his friend Harry Lime. However, when he gets there, he discovers that Harry Lime has been murdered under suspicious circumstances. So Holly Martins, he goes to see lots of different people who were either at the scene of the crime or heard what happened, and he finds out that different people seem to have different accounts of what happened. Some people say a certain thing happened, some people say something else happened, and it turns out that there might be a mysterious third man who is involved in this crime. And in fact, we don't actually know whether it was a murder or whether it was an accident or how many people were involved or the circumstances. And throughout this film, we are following Holly Martins as he tries to discover the truth about what happens to Harry Lime and how in fact he died. Now, we also get a supporting cast in this film. We get Trevor Howard. He plays a character called Major Calloway, who is essentially trying to also figure out what has happened to Harry Lime, and he believes that Harry Lime was involved in some suspicious activity himself, which could have possibly led to his death. And we also get Alida Valli, who plays a character called Anna Schmidt, who was a woman who was at Harry Lime's funeral and who was very much in love with Harry Lime. And then we also get this story develop, this romance angle between Holly Martins and Anna Schmidt as well. Although Holly Martins obviously really likes Anna, Anna still cannot stop thinking about Harry and how much she misses him. So this was the first time that I'd ever seen this film, so going into it, I didn't know exactly what to expect. I knew this film was very well regarded. It's actually number one on the British Film Institute's greatest British films of all time. And it does have a very British film to it, although interestingly enough, it's also listed on the American Film Institute's list of 100 greatest American movies in 1998. Really, the only American links to it are that Orson Welles is in it and Joseph Cotten. They're both American, and also the producer was David O. Selznick, who was American, who produced many big Hollywood films such as Gone with the Wind. But really, the director Carol Reed is British, and it does have a very British feel to it, so I quite like that. And what I really like about this film is the cinematography, and in fact this film actually only won one Oscar, which was for the cinematography, because it's shot in gorgeous black and white, and this film is filled with loads of fantastic lighting effects, really dark shadows, and some tilted camera angles to give it a certain effect. And it really is such a beautiful film to look at. This is one of the best looking black and white films I've ever seen. It's one of those films that I could not picture it being in colour, because if it was in colour, I really don't think it would work the right way. What is also great about this film is the setting. So it was shot entirely on location in Vienna. And remember, this was 1949, so it was only a few years after the end of World War II. And as such, Vienna looks a very desolate place. There's lots of places which have been bombed, lots of buildings which look very dilapidated and looks quite run down. But when it's shot in this spectacular black and white with all these lighting and dark shadows, really gives it a mysterious effect to it, and really adds to the tone of the film, gives us a sense of intrigue and mystery, which I really appreciated. Another thing that I have to mention in this film is the musical score. So the score for this film was done by Anton Karas, and he was completely new to the film going in. This was a completely original score, so people didn't really know what to expect. And the musical score to this, it's so memorable. We always get this music playing throughout the film in certain situations, and after watching the film, I had it stuck in my head for quite a while, because it's such a memorable piece of music, and it's very quirky and it's very unusual, and it almost doesn't really go with the tone of the film, because the music in this film, it's very sort of light-hearted, almost a bit silly and slapstick-like sounding. It's a real contrast to what is happening in the film, with obviously this murder and mystery angle that's going on. For some reason, it just works perfectly when it almost shouldn't really, and It's this music really that gives a film a real modern feel to it. It's the sort of thing that they would do in lots of modern films now to just make it more appealing, make it more interesting. And going back to watch a film like this in 1949 that was doing this is really fantastic to see, and it really makes the film seem very ahead of its time. Now, in terms of the story, which is really, I suppose, the main element of the film, this is what really gripped me. I really loved the characters in the film. I loved the performances and just the story itself. The constant interaction between these characters, the conversations that they're having, is really what makes the film so interesting. I was so interested in the plot in this film. I really liked the plot. We're constantly following Holly Martins throughout this film, and I really wanted to know what was happening as we unlock more and we understand, and we as the audience understand more about what is going on, what has happened to Harry Lime. We really want to get a sense of understanding. And this film does a really good job of holding my attention, really wanting me to keep watching and make sure that I stay till the very end of the film. So overall, I have to say The Third Man, it's a brilliant film noir. And it's one of the best British films of all time. As I said, British Film Institute called it #1, above films like The 39 Steps and Lawrence of Arabia. And I can certainly understand why. It's a beautiful film, fantastic musical score by Anton Karas, a brilliant cast of actors, and just overall a really lovely motion picture. So I'm going to give The Third Man a rating of 10 out of 10. I really recommend that you see this film, and if you're someone who is put off by watching films that are in black and white or films that are old, then please don't be put off by watching this, because it's an amazing film, and it's one of those films that I think everybody should see. I cannot rate this film highly enough. It's probably one of the greatest films that I've ever seen, and I have seen so many great films. So by all means, please watch The Third Man. So there we go. So that is my review of The Third Man. So what do you guys think? Have you seen The Third Man? Do you like it? Do you dislike it? Please let me know in the comments section below what you think. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. I'll see you all in the next video. Take care.